Good afternoon. I welcome you at our panel discussion that is called Digital Assets, Will There Be a Breakthrough? Here, I and my guests are facing difficult tasks because we are giving you a lot of information on AI, on cutting-edge technologies, and I know that the topic of digital assets was discussed multiple times at this forum, and we would like to give you something new to make it interesting for you. Before starting, I would like to start a short poll. Could you please share the screen of our poll, and I would like to ask you to answer the following questions. Please screen our voting. What assets do you have? First, digital. Financial assets, second, securities, third, crypto assets, and fourth, money in the bank. So, when the law on DFA was adopted, it happened 3 years ago, and the first operators appeared about 2 years ago. The first emissions happened about a year ago. So, we do have the history of digital financial assets. We already changed the regulation in taxation. We do understand that there are some issues to improve in regulation, such aspects as the liquidity of assets, division of DFAs, etc. We work with all this. At the same time, we see some active growth. We do understand that the baseline is quite a low one, but today we are talking about a breakthrough, and from summer of this year, we see the growth in remittances by 1,000%. And in users by 42%, and we emitted about 176 financial assets, digital financial assets. So a lot of these emissions are the test ones. The operators are still touching the ground to understand how it works, what to expect here. But I do get that we already have the foundation, and we can discuss today whether there will be a breakthrough or not. And so it's my great pleasure to introduce the speakers today. Vladislav Martynov, international consultant. He also was involved in our project. He has experience of 24 years. Sergey, Shvetsov, the member of the supervisory board of Moscow Exchange. This is the largest institution in our country. We have Denis Dodon, the innovations director at Alfa-Bank. Alfa-Bank is very active in this respect. Sergey Anokhin, the first vice president of Rostelecom. Rostelecom is one of the emitters, and so they use this form of DFA. We also have Ekaterina Frolovicheva, the CEO of Atomyze. Atomyze is the pioneer who issues DFAs on absolutely different products, metals, hybrid financial assets, etc. And we also have Alexander Nam, the managing director of Lab in Sberbank. So this is one of the largest players, because we can't actually discuss digital assets without blockchain, and that's what he does. Now let's screen the results of our voting. So, a Russian digital assets, will there be a breakthrough? Okay, that was another question, and you've seen the results of the first question. So, my first question will go to Ekaterina.
Я, в том числе в силу ряда особенностей своей должности, наверное, ближе отношусь к тем, кто вот в банке хранит, не всегда стеклянный, но тем не менее. И вот по моим ощущениям традиционных финансов, ну и так все очень сильно оцифровано. Ну, сидя на диване, торгуешь на бирже, открываешь вклады, выключаешь кредиты. Ну, куда еще цифровее? Что такого вы можете предложить, что в этом смысле сильно будет отличать от того, что уже сегодня есть?
Thank you very much for this provocative, I would say, question. Because indeed, judging by the result of our vote, in voting, about 42% of people have the same investor profile as Philipp, and only about 7% of people, at least in this room, in this hall, are the pioneers. They voted for DFAs in the first line in the voting. So, I would like to state from the very beginning that to sell the statement that the DFA has blockchain inside, this doesn't work anymore. Because, well, about 10 years ago we had a trend for big data. Everybody was saying, like, we have big data. And now the same happened with blockchain. If I say, yeah, we have blockchain, it is not convincing anymore. So what I would say is that we review critically the composition of emissions, I mean the ideas of the emitters, and we try not to just copy something classical. I think colleagues that work in the financial sector do understand that there is nothing new about some bonds or securities. But the thing is, if the information system operators have some technologies, these technologies can be used to combine the conditions of products, those ones that can't be seen anywhere else, and that is the main idea. But this is to answer the question, is there any novelty in the product of digital financial assets as they are? And another question is, what about the digitalization? Are the operators ideal, perfect? Is it a real end-to-end, fully digitalized product? Well, it will be too honest probably, but still we are far from having seamless customer journey in this product. Now, the journey of an emitter and of an investor, well, you know, actually to become an emitter, you also need to fill in some papers, even though these documents can also be processed via the electronic document flow. But is it like a digital customer journey or not? We haven't yet answered this question. Also, to become an investor, one needs to complete 5 to 6 steps, and we have some research on that, so we measured this journey, and so this is not one-click action. To become a client, you also need to complete a couple of steps. Then, the emitter's assessment and the credit profile. This is also the process that still doesn't use the capabilities of AI. Because if I had...
Там такой был сюжет, главный вопрос жизни вообще из 42, приходишь в суперкомпьютер, а он тебе говорит, типа, 42. Что 42? И мне вот точно казалось, что для того, чтобы претендовать на то, чтобы отрасль имела ключевые отличия от оцифрованных практик фондового рынка, иметь все-таки признаки того, что принятие решений и взвешенность, информированность инвестора
informed decision-making of an investor when they choose DFA. This all should be digitalized with technologies, and the basis of this is not only blockchain. We should also have some supportive processes which will concern both the emitter and the investor. Why? Because when we talk about this, actually I see that we even experience a decrease in the number of the answers to our voting. And so the main question is, will we grow in the audience of investors in this market? Because they are the foundation for us to say, is there is a market or not? Now, the market is there. There are some colorful, bright events happening, but to make it a system, an institution, I guess that we have to enforce it with a set of some additional services on top of the blockchain. And so, sorry, once again, what do we lack here? So I'll start with my favorite topic, identification.
физическое лицо смогло полноценно
to enable an individual
на платформе.
to register on the platform.
Говорю с позиции, наверное,
Now I'm talking from a position of a non-credit finance organization, because we also have such in our system. So we proceed from the identification procedure, which is the delegated procedure from a player. And if we have the confirmed authorized account on state services, this could be the simplest way for us to first understand that if one can be identified by state services, then the service is probably reliable. What I would like to add is that the interest of investors could also increase if we think about this wonderful goal, because, well, everybody has their own corporate financial systems, their closed cycle ones. And if we could have some reserve copy backup,
я знаю, что 42, то мне кажется, это бы создало бы такой вот институт гаранта для инвесторов. Для эмитентов. Я сразу скажу, что мне было бы идеально видеть, что какой-нибудь цифровой профиль эмитента, который включал бы в себя достаточно обильный набор сведений, необходимых для информированного взвешенного решения, директором, который является обязательно должностным лицом в любом операторе,
risk director in any company could see this and make an informed decision. So this digital profile of an emitter should include all the services and answer all the questions that might appear, and that's how we would get a guaranteed scoring. And another thing that already come about, this is the thing that connects the emitter and the investor. This is scoring or ratings. So actually we've already got some first ratings, and it's quite a telling story. What we could do on top of that is to build a system, an institution that would explain this is not a wild crypto world, but this is a set of solutions which involve responsible emitters, which guarantees the protection of investors' rights. And also those are trusted operators of information systems. And I would like to conclude with saying that we need to actually also address the question of automated information systems, because those are endless wells, so-called, in a metaphoric way. But we need to get a very structured system so that we could understand what we can really buy from some system. I mean, those automated information systems are now separated, but we need to have like a unified one. So you mentioned the blockchain, and I would like to pose the question to Alexander. So it's quite provocative, but for people who still store their funds in a bank, I'm still not convinced. You know, there are 10 differences between the digital financial assets and some securities. And so what are these differences? How can we see them? Yes, good afternoon. Today I am to sell blockchain here. I'm an ambassador. I believe that the key distinction between the digital financial assets and traditional tools is the technology. We shouldn't be surprised, because at the very beginning, the securities and digital financial assets are the same. In the past, regulators, when they saw some new instrument, they use a special test. If we have something that reminds us of an element that we know, it was an experiment with a duck. Gary Gensler said it, and now he's the head of a commission. And so, From the very beginning, we created a duck, so to say, and in this duck we have another technology, which is blockchain. Of course, we need to distinguish between corporate blockchain and public one. A lot of corporations that went into blockchain some years ago, they organized private closed networks. It's understandable because these are corporations and they need to be secure and reliable. And the blockchain technology at that time wasn't really mature. Today we can say that, for example, Gartner and some other consulting firms say that blockchain actually didn't meet up the expectations. A lot of blockchain companies closed because they haven't reached the indicators. We know that any special product has three key success factors: business case, technology, and another one. So why it is now so good is because all these three aspects are actually respected. Now about the future and prospects. So DFA is an infrastructural market and it's a long-term project. The supply and demand will come, but we also need to understand the potential. Blockchain technology is now only used by 5% in DFA, digital financial assets. Now we've organized a market future-proof. So the blockchain technology allows us to believe that in the next 10 years we'll stay relevant and will be ahead of other markets, unleashing the potential of the technologies. And where is this potential? It's in the processes, in the efficiency, because the securities market is very complex one. A lot of players, a lot of processes, still a lot of manual work. Take any process, settlement, corporate actions, everything is very complicated there. And this complexity doesn't allow end investors to get the ownership of the assets immediately. A lot of assets are somewhere in the process. It's a lost profit. And smart contracts can give us 24/7 immediate settlement opportunity. And this will decrease the transaction costs, and we as users and investors will get the profit. So my answer is, there are no external visible differences, right? Like the duck is a duck, but if we open it, then we'll see that it's another technology, and this is technology of the future. Thank you, Alexander. Let's continue to operate this duck. One of the questions is as follows. Okay, taking into account these positions that, these digital assets and classical assets from the external outlook, they are quite the same, but different inside. Still, we have a lot of classic processes. How will the digital and classic assets coexist? Will anybody eat somebody? How will they live in the future? Good question, thank you. I'd like to finalize the topic about the duck. I would like to actually debunk a couple of myths. So, a lot of people say that there is a regulation arbitration. Actually, there is nothing like this. Well, if it's still lagging behind the current market situation, we still say that we should protect the investors' rights in the market, we should assess the investors, we should also have the corporate actions outlined, we also should have the listing criteria for some platforms. So conceptually speaking, when it comes to the protection of rights and information disclosure and a dialogue between an emitter and an investor, this is all preserved, but it just exists in new forms. So first thing is that we'll see the practice of digital accounts of investors. And so they'll be able to get all the information about the emitter there. So they will see the changes, dynamic changes of a company. And an emitter is interested in it. At the same time, what we've got new from the cases that we're implementing and from what we see, now we see that old products, such as project financing, securitization, CLM, banking guarantees, complementary around these digital financial assets, or the relationships between an emitter and investor, all this can now be applied absolutely differently. So, definitely. Now I'm not talking about any speculations here, because the market is divided into two parts. Those who want to finance and get some revenue, and those who speculate and also use volatility. We don't talk about the second part, and we are talking about the credit risk and what can be done with this, and how the technology can be used to pack this in a scenario where you can give the investor an additional value, new value. And at the very beginning of Phinopolis, we had a project with the Rostelecom. Maybe Sergey will comment on this. So it's an opportunity to create a product, to suggest it to investor very fast, and then it will also be finalized very fast through all the advantages, such as the taxation advantages, etc. So first, the technology gives the opportunity to create new products very fast, with added value when it comes to the circulation of these products, such as securitization, because one can use it and manage it dynamically. Then, project financing, which can also be emitted by a bank, and then it can be traded and divided among some classes of investors. So, these are the new approaches towards the work with traditional non-stock exchange products, such as loans, deposits, everything that is connected to the structural products, project financing, securitization, etc. And the second thing that we definitely see is that now we see a very stable model of decentralized financial products creation, not only creation but also circulation. There are different ways to work with investors. Also, a sustainable model is created. This is not about one center, this is about multiple centers of liquidity that can add one to another, that can be complementary. So, to answer the question, I guess that, well, there is a competition between the digital and the traditional assets, but it's quite weak, because the market is moving conceptually towards some individual packing of products. It's the first one. And second one, now the market is complementary. At the same time, we see that a new chapter is opened with new products. And many of these products are not about stock exchange operations, but it's about all products such as insurance, securitization, that can also actually transfer to the smart contracts. And they will be able to protect the investors' rights. So traditional and new markets will be complementary. Somewhere they'll be competing, but they'll be competing at the level of the products, and somewhere at the level of distribution, because there are also some open questions in this. Okay, thank you. And have you already finalized the DFA that you've issued? I mean, the project, have you already finalized your project with the Rostelecom?
Круто.
Yes, we have. So we already paid the taxes, we've paid everything that was needed. Okay, good. So you said that this project was in partnership with the Rostelecom. So Sergey, the question then goes to you. You as an emitter, you use this instrument. Why DFA? Well, it was said that there is no arbitration, but fixed income is here. So securities, is it like expensive? Is it too long? Why do you work with DFA? Good afternoon. So let's continue on the duck topic. So I guess that here I need to represent interests of people who actually eat this duck, because in the past we were talking only about cooking of this duck. So we are a digital contemporary company, and of course we try different technologies and we see how we can embed them in the products of our company. So of course the DFA market is also interesting for us. So in practice we are about money, profit. We've tested some emissions, we've done 3 of them already, and we were testing the demand. And we've tested the interest coming from some new market players, those that we didn't target in the past, such as corporations, individuals, some middle-sized banks. In the past, we were focusing more on big partners. And so here, we were testing it from 1 month to 12 months. And so we see that the market is lacking digital instruments now, because loans are quite expensive, especially now. Bonds, it all starts with a year. And if we need to balance the portfolio and to have a healthy portfolio, then something is missing. That's why we've gone into that direction. The first emissions showed that our hypotheses were right, and there is the interest to digital financial assets. It's quite a big interest. And when it comes to the profitability, we find common ground with investors and creditors. And so it's interesting for us. Andrei already mentioned the project within Finapolis. It's like a retail instrument. Half of the emission was by private investors and half by banks and companies. And in April, we've got our first deal, 750 million, 90 days. It's a truly market transaction, and we've accessed market with this suggestion, with offering, and there were banks and private clients, and we just got the confirmation that digital financial assets are in demand now. The second thing is not connected to arbitration, it's more practice-oriented. We also used the capabilities of such a platform as Atomyze, and we could have the deferred payment, we could use the DFA for settlements, postponement, and later on we will also use it for dynamic discounting. So, what are the advantages of DFA for us? First, it was already mentioned today, DFA is convenient, it's digital. Yes, there is some paper involved still, but as the example has shown, it took us 1 day to make the decision, to issue, to close it, and it took us a couple of hours. There is also some ointment here, basically, and still the papers should be signed by the CEO of an organization. Now, I know that the work is done to overcome this obstacle, and probably will be able to be more dynamic. So that's probably it from my side. Okay, thank you. It's very interesting to hear it from a person who actually uses it to attract clients. So, Ekaterina, you mentioned the wells. You meant that the platforms are quite separated. And now there is a discussion about wrapping the digital assets in paper, and it will probably add some liquidity, because these instruments will be able to circulate at the exchange, stock exchange, and there will be more opportunities. But won't you lose the digital content when you wrap it in a paper? Difficult question. So, I guess that the DFA should have a twin in the form of digital certificates when it's needed by an emitter. That's the first approach. Will we lose anything if we wrap it in a paper and make it a security, for example? If it's a direct, understandable product, that we will not lose the digital aspect. But if what Denis mentioned, if there is something else in the digital product that we can't really just wrap in paper and make it security, then just to sustain this full digital way of the DFA with all the characteristics, with all the conditions that allow to keep this duck a digital one. I guess that we need to use it and to keep it in the infrastructure where the DFA actually appeared. So I would be balanced here. So to say that everybody, all types and formats of DFAs, whatever the contents are, should be wrapped in digital certificates, and that's how they'll acquire some liquidity and will address the distribution in the market question. I guess that it will be applicable to standardized types of products. And for more creative products, I would preserve the circulation with the use of the infrastructure of automated information systems and the interoperability capability. And on top of that, I would go not only through the digital certifications when it comes to DFAs. Together with colleagues from the stock exchange, now we are working with the St. Petersburg exchange. We found an interesting way, and separately there we managed for registered users through unification and some parameterization of the instrument that is suggested by an emitter to investors. In one click, one can finalize the emission and invest in DFAs.
We actually see that this is also a very good format for presence and for resolving the questions according to the requests. Therefore, I would not prescribe this recipe as an exceptional recipe for all DFAs. I see it like a store that has all kinds of different products when you look at the shelf. And it looks like they're all packed into different packages, and then just some of them you look at and you really want to put them into your basket without any problems, but you look at other products, you would like them to be packed differently. But in any case, it's going to be the market that is going to select the best product. They're going to select it according to the economic, just profitability. If this tool is existent, then and if there is an economic expediency, then I'm going to do it. If it is easier for a company to invest into security, then the market will choose a security. And it's not like everything is going to be homogeneous for everyone. We even looked, even when we looked at ourselves, we all use all types of different tools for managing welfare through savings, through investments, and with this respect, DFA is going to be absolutely the same situation. There isn't going to be a single approach to DFAs. In my opinion, no one is going to be able to find a single approach, and the DFA is not going to be under universal demand. The issuer is very careful about the costs. The cost of ownership is a very important tool, and this advantage must be supported somehow. Thank you. Then I would like to speak to Sergey Shvetsov. Sergey. Although Ekaterina started by saying that there should be some balance, she just divided DFAs into creative ones and to conventional ones. This is my interpretation of tools. Some tools are boring, some of them are just more creative ones. But at the same time, they all have their relevant expenditures. Maybe we shouldn't look for any compromises. let's just reject all those digital certificates. Let us just reject all those, clearings, different, just maybe organize some kind of blue tokens, just introduce a blockchain, and then you just go on working with that. Are you not afraid for your business? So it's going to be like a duck. The duck has got an egg inside, and the egg inside has got a needle. This is not the death of the exchange. This is going to be the death of the regulator. Now today, this needle is inside your egg. We are going to find a way. But what is a regulator going to regulate in this liberal environment? Therefore, I'm absolutely sure that the banks are well protected by regulations, especially by law number 115 against whitewashing money, and the exchange is also well protected by the legislation, because the regulator is not ready to change. They're not going to introduce any changes, and all the, just like people say, all generals are preparing for the war which has already passed, but the progress is going to be there, and the speed with which the regulator is going to develop, actually it's not about Russian Federation, it's not about the system in the Russian Federation. I mean, to what extent the regulator is ready for this product, it all depends on the regulator's attitude itself. This is the first point. The second point, what we're discussing right now, I agree that this is only an intermediary stage, and the potential of the technologies is understood maybe to maximum 5%. Why 5%? Because in this digital world, on the demand side, there should be a robot. There should be. It doesn't live in a different way. Just humans don't need these things. And if you offer a human to go to 10,000s of sites and try to find out the difference between different tokens, this is not going to happen. Today, it's the epoch of aggregators, because the artificial intelligence is used by the financial sector for capitalization on the human errors, on his emotions, on his lack of intelligence, etc., etc. So this is this, but this story has an end. Just sooner or later, there's going to be M-to-M interaction, machine-to-machine interaction, and when there is a robot instead of a human, then there won't be a question whether a robot is ready to visit like 10,000 of sites and then select the best token. While a person is sitting at the machine, then it doesn't matter how beautiful the product is, the distribution cost is very high. Just imagine that you made a big, beautiful car. In the very beginning it was a Zhiguli car, then there was a second generation car, and then we made a Niva car, and then they decided to, just that the Niva car is going to be a car that goes through all types of roads. For some reason, we forget that when the puzzle is, just assembled, we need to live to that age. But while the puzzle is not yet finished, while the puzzle is not yet assembled, we need to continue developing. So if we have these broken roads, then we have to make, just cars which are appropriate for these roads. So why not to use the rails? Why not to use the ways that are already existent? What is the beauty about the DFAs? The DFA's beauty is that the consumers don't regard it as some bonds or obligations, and we use it. We should use it because this is not an arbitrage. We have, just an experience in depository world, in centralized clearing, etc., etc. But there are some individual contracts. They can also individually describe the requirements or demands of the issuer, but there should also be something attractive. I was surprised how one of the financial products was promoted in the Ministry of Finance. They said, just please buy this type of financial instrument because you don't have to share it with your wife or divide it with your wife when you get separated with her, when you divorce her. But this is also a great feature. So we need to know what is important for a human. There's something that is not provided by a bond or by a share. But at the same time, when there is no an effect of scale, then there should be some streamlining to increase the demand. Now, what is exchange going to do? everyone in the past few years are going to different marketplaces because everybody understands that cross sales is going to just is something that is going to be very, very popular because you buy one product and you buy some additional products. These are cross sales, and this is the final stage of business. Is going to be replaced by robots, and then they won't need to have a marketplace because they won't have any problem to go to marketplaces and select the best offer from many offers. But nonetheless, an exchange is going to create a special marketplace for financial digital assets. So you receive an appropriate license, and we, as an operator, we are at the phase of connecting to all kinds of platforms. And then at one place, you will be able to see all the tokens, and the issuer of those tokens believes them to be suitable for public circulation. Then contracts are going to be signed, and if in the contract it says that the tokens are not for public circulation, so of course the tokens are not going to go to the public circulation. But today, just 10 or 15 platforms, these are too many. In any case, we are going to come to a situation when the number of platforms is going to be low because the profitability of that is very low. Above those platforms, there's going to be product makers, and product makers are going to use these platforms for selling their products, and clients are going to use these products for purchase and for issuing other products. But before this M2M interaction, part of it is going to be done through the organized sales. And the brokers are needed because brokers, they have the database of clients. So why can a person not receive the services in one place, like both in the exchange or in digital financial assets markets? And then it's a question about maintaining those platforms. Then in the competition, there might be just only 2 or 3 groups that are going to remain, and they're going to promote their own platforms. As for experiments, it's so great that you can issue things and you can even purchase and settle those, just instruments. I yesterday saw when people were buying tokens at a platform that is going to provide these services for supply of those tokens. The same thing was done by the Moscow exchange, by several banks. So the product does exist. The question is how commercially viable it is today. It is too early to say because we are currently at the stage of starting this work. We have the proof of concept that the advantages are so high, and then they cover the alternative opportunity costs for distributions. Of course, for example, if you take Sberbank, it's got hundreds of clients. There are banks that have lots of clients, but startups who are working in this area, they don't have clients. So we have to resolve this question, how these startups can become disruptors so that they can disrupt bigger players. Yesterday there was a section, and I heard when a person from Wildberries company, she discussed when Wildberries is going to start selling financial products. But it's not the discussion, what the discussion is about. Wildberries, of course, is going to start it, but the question is when a small company is going to be involved into the sales of financial products, because competition is not when, just 2 elephants are moving, pushing each other off the ground. The competition, when there is a good idea, there is a good platform, and there is a good regulation, and there is a cheap promotion to the market. So if we look at it this way, then the exchange will always have a good future, and, well, regulator will be in the trouble, I guess.
Спасибо, Сергей.
Thank you, Sergey.
И пока технологии не добили регулятора, я хотел бы Владиславу задать вопрос. Окей, да, технологии идут, они идут по всему миру, это действительно вызов центральных банков, криптовалют и так далее, но во многом все-таки практика идет такая, она, да, различается, но есть некий базис много где о том, что если это вот та утка, она крякает и так далее, то мы регулируем тебя как утку. Если ты что-то делаешь, которое крякает как утка, но пытаешься обозвать не уткой и отступить от правил, то мы пытаемся на соответствующие регуляторные последствия. Так что регулятор еще порыпается, Сергей Андреевич. Так вот,
just manage it differently. Now, the question is this. Securities are strictly regulated, like open blockchains that on the one hand could provide just space out of those whales that I have mentioned on the one hand, but the question is how these developers, are they ready for, how are they feeling, are they ready for understanding from regulators, at least in terms of identification of the clients, or are these going to be like two different worlds where they're going to be living separately without giving into each other? Let me start with identification. The community of responsible developers of open blockchains, they recognize that a universal digital identifier for a person who is behind the address of blockchain or behind the open wallet, it is an important topic. It is important for the development of crypto sector in the state as it is, as we know it. And currently there are new developments and new standards of tokens and new NFTs, so special NFTs which are linked to a specific address, and then it can collect a lot of information. So it looks like a digital passport. It is very important for the crypto community because when we say blockchain, when we say decentralized architecture, people first think it's about cryptocurrency. But cryptocurrency is only a small part. There is a whole universe that have centralized organizations, that have different independent communities, decentralized communities, and these communities they cannot make joint solutions without a digital passport or digital ID. And currently there are new universal digital IDs appearing that are linked to a certain address where the community can just add things or subtract things, and then finally you come to a certain reputation. If you have a higher reputation, then you have more rights, then your voice is going to be more significant. Besides, there are even special platforms where the user can decide themselves whether they're going to provide only their email only, or email plus telephone, or maybe just a different type of biometric data. And depending on what data they provided, this reputation of this address is going upwards. And besides, they are adding some external sources of data, for example, from a university, if they declare that they've graduated from a university, or from an employer who can provide also a recommendation for that user. And this increases the reputation. And here's a point of interaction where the regulator could be another voice that would confirm the credit history of a user. And they also can use the feedback from decentralized world as well, and use it for their own purposes. And this is where the centralized system and the decentralized system could intercommunicate, interact. But going back to the question that you asked in the very beginning, to what extent the developers are open to blockchain systems? Are they ready for that? Here we have to delineate between different participants, because there are developers of infrastructure. Well, for them, they don't care. They just don't care what the regulator is thinking about, because they're only creating an infrastructure which is truly decentralized. And technically, a regulator is not able to do anything virtually. They're creating only infrastructure, so they don't care about a regulator. Then we also have quasi-decentralized developers who are saying that they are decentralized, but there are 2 or 3 founders behind them that have the controlling package of tokens, and they regulate their activities. So here the regulator starts interacting with them, and they are forced to interacting with the regulator. And this is for the benefit of the whole cryptocurrency, because this creates some new legal opportunity, legal space. For example, you can go to a court. There is some evolution. And there is a third type of participants, which are creators of decentralized financial instruments. Here, the interaction must be constructive. You must not ban it. You have to start because a decentralized exchange, decentralized financial services, for them, decentralized assets is going to be only for the benefit for them. It's going to be some additional number of users who are going to come and start working with them. Now, who is in decentralized world? Those are more risky people who would like to have freedom, and they're going to sacrifice the guarantees of security provided by the state, by the government. They would like to risk because to have the freedom so that no sanctions are taken against them. But there is another big part of the crowd who are not ready to assume these risks. And their regulator, are they going to use this decentralized platform for some distribution of some assets? And here I can see lots of opportunities for interaction between these services and the regulator. So this is the answer to your question.
Вот к этой картинке добавить еще все-таки некий тренд или хорошо желание, которое явно выражают различные регуляторы по выпуску CBDC, как следствие, соответственно, регулирования и цифрового сегмента, который возникает и в расчетах с использованием соответствующих цифровых национальных валют, ну и цифровых активов как следствие. В этом плане, вот как вы видите, это все-таки тоже какая-то история дополнительной синергии, или это больше будет как бы такая война, учитывая неотъемлемое желание что-нибудь регуляторов регулировать и все видеть и контролировать?
Нет, войны в конкретном случае с CBDC я не вижу никакой. Это будет такая же история для CBDC, выход на централизованную площадку, это, мне кажется, мощный канал дистрибуции, это альтернатива стейблкоинам для привлечения аудитории, которая хотела бы, чтобы за каким-то цифровым активом стоял государство или какой-то гарант. Это, в принципе, все во благо. То есть я вижу только взаимовыгодное сотрудничество. Вот. Другое дело, конечно, если регулятор будет выходить с какими-то жесткими требованиями,
On the other hand, the regulator starts, setting up some limitations. In this respect, it is very important to find some compromise on how regulator is going to cooperate or interact with these platforms. And I'd like to add a couple of things. Just a second. There are two worlds. A decentralized world which exists in parallel to the centralized world. Let us call it a regulated governmental, regulated by the government world or fiat, and the world which is regulated by the community. You cannot say that crypto assets are absolutely unregulated. They are regulated by the community, and there is a cryptocurrency, crypto world. So three different worlds. In the beginning, the regulator was banning that unregulated market. Now they are thinking about interacting with it, and now we're coming to the stage when they stop trying to regulate it, but start trying to find points for coexistence in peace. And I think that this stage is going to last for quite a long time, maybe 5 to 10 years, and it's going to be for the welfare of everybody, for the benefit of everybody. Because, the cryptocurrency is also going to involve more people who are interested in that. There's going to be some transformation of the attitude of the regulator. This is also going to be happening, and this is going to be a very interesting period. But finally, we are going to come, as Sergey said, we're going to come to a new financial system that is difficult to imagine, where the ideas of more radical or progressive people will be winning, which were mentioned by the founders of the blockchain network. But the role of the regulation is not going to disappear at all. It's not going to disappear. Because we can see that there is more and more interaction in decentralized society, such as voting and discussion. I think that there's going to be another model which will resemble to something like a group of an expert representative people who are proposing some rules for regulation. If the community is happy with the rules, then they are going to be programmed into smart contracts and included into blockchain. And this is going to be an observation council. They are going to see whether the rules are being observed or not. They're going to be like an arbiter. And if these rules are becoming ineffective, then this council or this board is going to change the rules. And the voting is going to be done by the community, by the majority of votes, and then the smart contracts are going to change. I don't think that the regulation role is going to disappear completely, but it's going to be transformed. It's going to be different. This is a very interesting trend because it's not only do I imagine that the regulator is going to be like that. It's also going to be an evolution of self-regulation and of the two worlds that live in parallel, and it's very interesting. And with this respect, I would like to go back to Alexander. Vladislav was speaking about that. So what we have is that crypto assets, they are mostly in open blockchains, but DFAs, at least in our country, these are more like private niches which are under regulation. So do we need to marry them? Are they going to become friends? Is there going to be some evolutional way, or do you see it differently? In my opinion, just we need to make them marry little by little, gradually. Why? Because the DFA market, digital financial assets market, is heterogeneous and fragmented, and it's quite normal. We all want to get profit, and in some time the market is going to, just put everything into their place, and some things are going to be less, some things are going to be more. But I would agree with Vladislav when he spoke about different types of users. In DFA, it's mostly very highly advanced guys who are playing there, who can write smart codes themselves, who know how to earn money on that, and who are waiting for us over there. In the conventional market, investors would like to earn money, of course, but you need to teach them, you need to train them, you have to protect them somehow. And we're doing it right by developing the DFA market gradually. And it's great that it looks now like a securities market, but building a bridge with the DFA market is too early, because from the DFA market, because the DFA market is going to be invaded by crypto users, and this will increase risks. And the risks are there different, like technological risks. If you look at smart contracts, if a smart contract has a vulnerability, you wouldn't be able to change it. It is possible that you would lose money. And the DFA market is also growing. It is around, like, its value is around 50 to 60 billions, but for the past 2 years, the losses for the investors was about 80 billions. Different scams or frauds, etc. $8 billion dollars were lost. So therefore, this bridge must be controllable. We must control what assets are provided to our users, and the role of the conventional financial players is to provide this service on the convenience and reliability. Because those people who have a great appetite, who are ready to risk, they will manage to do things without us. They're not going to come to us. They're not going to come to you. They're just going to, just because we provide only a profitability of 10% or something. But those who would like to try for the first time, for them it is very important to provide security of the defined instrument. And so the role of the financial instruments, of the financial institutions, is to build a controllable bridge, and so that the security is always in the first place. Thank you, Alexander. No, Sergey Shvetsov. Mr. Shvetsov, I know that you often speak. I don't know if you do it voluntarily or just happen so, but you often speak like a future predictor. And it seems to me that the technologies are developing not only in the business, they are also developing in the regulators. Technology is also developing with the regulators, so it is possible that the artificial intelligence is going to be used even in central bank that would regulate not only private but also governmental banks. Now the question is of what is going to happen in the future. One of the ideas in digital assets is not to have intermediaries. We can see the leaps that are happening in artificial intelligence, and during the forums there were descriptions of great examples of what had seemed to be a far future, but all of a sudden this
this
became a reality. Now the question is, will we have no more intermediaries, or will it be the same duck, but we'll have a different, just color? That's a difficult question. It's true that it all depends on how the regulation continues developing. Regulation may just make things later, but may make things later by 10 or 20 years sometimes. But the mainstream is replacement of labor with artificial intelligence and reorientation of people to other types of activities. So just look at what Isaac Asimov was saying. It's like, just people is going to be like new electricity. We are living in the epoch when the innovations are being implemented much faster than 100 years ago, when a lamp, a bulb was created for the first time, or like in the past, the first engine was created, first internal combustion engine was created, but the airplanes were created much later. Currently, inventions and use of the inventions has become much closer to each other. And I think for the next 10 years, the financial market is going to be irrelevant for a human, because they are going to give it away to Internet of Things or whatever, artificial intelligence, whatever you call it. In our day-to-day life, we are managed by hormones. Of course, we do have some neuron network, but neuron network under a great influence of hormones. But financial markets, it's all about mathematics. And speaking objectively, we're always going to be worse on how to manage our finance as compared to machines. The question is where the time is going to be, what the time is going to be used for. There's going to decrease the time of work, and there's going to be like 4 hours work in a week, 3 hours work in a week, but this is going to be in the future. And many companies are implementing various solutions based on GDP and things like that. So today we are thinking about digital assets that are being issued by pieces, but maybe in 2 years a centralized issue is not going to be relevant. So I think that AI is going to be used instead of humans, and they're going to resolve all the tasks instead of humans. So therefore, all the marketing tasks that exist today, they're not going to be necessary. And the exchange is also going to suffer from that as a provider of the platform of the market. So it means that but the issuers are going to stay there. I think that the issuers are still going to be concentrated. They're going to be under more influence of people than artificial intelligence. But you asked who is going to regulate the artificial intelligence. I think that we're a little behind in this respect. Here we need some additional discussion. There is a discussion about ethics, a discussion about boundaries, but it is kind of dispersed. It's not concentrated. It's not focused. Maybe it is because we're just only looking at the first practices of the deep implementation of artificial intelligence. During the plenary session, they demonstrated a doll with artificial intelligence, and it refused to perform its function, one of its functions. Now, Philipp also described a story where a robot left its master and went to another master. So these things may happen in the future, but let us not try to fantasize, but let us try to understand where is the boundary between our personal life and the artificial intelligence. What happens if the artificial intelligence becomes emotional? This is going to be horrible. Isaac Asimov's books are really about that, and it frightens me. And the future actually frightens me more than makes me happy. But in any case, we will have to pass through that. Thank you, Sergey.
мы потихоньку движемся к завершающей части, и вот когда уважаемая аудитория послушала всех спикеров, я хотел бы попросить поставить еще одно голосование. Оно очень простое, но, собственно, вот наша сессия про что? Вот будет прорыв или нет? И пока зал голосует, если можно, результаты не выводить сразу. Тем не менее, я хотел бы попросить, пока еще идет время, уже своих спикеров, прям начиная с Владислава, очень кратко ответить на этот же вопрос и почему. Прямо по 30 секунд максимум.
Я не думаю, что будет прорыв. Я думаю, что будет поступательное, сбалансированное, как Екатерина сказала, развитие, и, в принципе, мы там в перспективе лет 5 увидим, конечно, новые активы, новые ценности этих активов. Вот я вижу поступательное, спокойное, сбалансированное развитие России. Это связано в основном с тем, что страна большая,
related to the fact that the country is big. It's got also some cultural specifics, because some small countries like Montenegro, I visited that country recently, they move much faster, but we have a absolutely different history, we have a different way. So there's going to be like a slow, gradual evolvement. In my practice, from my experience, I can say that there's going to be a breakthrough. I think that there's going to be a breakthrough. Whether the breakthrough is going to happen in the next 1 or 2 years, I don't know.
Anton, right, so the evolution is undergoing, and if we take a look at Darwin, he talked a lot about evolution, and, well, I guess there will be a breakthrough in DFAs, but the question is about the speed of adaptation, because here we actually face some limitations in our brain power. That means that the breakthrough is there to happen, but maybe not that fast. Okay, so, Sergey, I believe in the dynamic growth of the market, and when the Moscow exchange solely or together with brokers, they could create the secondary market, it will help a lot, and then we also need to actually explain all the gaps, how to work with them, and we also need to create a good customer journey, and I believe in it. Ekaterina, what do you think? I guess that over 3 years we've made step towards a breakthrough, and then we will also make a quantum leap forward. It will be composed of 3 components. First, institutionalization of the internal market, and the next component will be about the interaction with the external world.
Площадок, где аналогичный инструмент обращается. И третий, наверное, компонент второго, это, конечно же, компетенционный прорыв внутри самого регулятора. Я верю в то, что регулятор сможет оперировать новыми АИСов для того, чтобы гарантировать инвесторам то, что цифра никуда не делась.
DFA is there to stay. Thank you, Alexander. Right, so the breakthrough is there from the infrastructural point of view, and I guess that we've done some good work before, it is just not that visible. So for a user, it looks like a new digital railroad was built, and now a user can choose the train that they can take. And then we will see the development of the demand and supply, as well as some liquidity, and I believe in some great breakthrough in the upcoming 2 years, because competition will be driving us and will make this breakthrough together. Thank you. So we are to finalize, and before finalizing, I would like to ask Sergey. Well, everybody has agreed that there should be a breakthrough. And Sergey, don't you want to get your own platform? Right, after what Sergey Shvetsov said, I guess that the reply is quite an obvious previous one. The question is, why do we need to do this? Now we are working with these platforms via integration. But what could help us is the embedment of DFA in our products. But now one can't use it as a payment method, so we don't see the huge potential here. We believe more in the digital ruble that is now being tested. I guess that it will be added to the commonly used payment methods. And so when our colleagues create this interoperability and the common environment, then we might think about creating our own platform. As some progressive issuers will just calculate the costs of transactions on our platform and on other platforms. So we'll see. Thank you. So it's time for us to finalize our discussion. Could you please show the results of our voting on the screen? So I see that you've mostly convinced the audience that, or maybe the audience believed from the very beginning that there is going to be a breakthrough. Well, actually, when we had our first Finapolis forums, we didn't expect this sector to move that fast. Now we see that banks are issuing loans and credits not only to legal entities and physical entities, but also some corporate clients. The market is very ambitious. AI now is very progressive. It can even diagnose people with some diseases better than doctors do. I believe that this is a great challenge and it's also an amazing possibility, an opportunity. I guess that we can work together to make this future good for us, to be beneficial for us, for investors, for issuers. And Sergey will also stop to be scared of this. And the regulator will find its way. Thank you, dear speakers. Thank you, dear audience.